Your ability to stop is affected by A. Signal lights. B. Other cars on the road. C. The time of day. D. The condition of the road. D. The condition of the road. Your ability to stop is greatly affected by the condition of the road. You need to reduce your speed when road conditions are poor in order to maintain control of your vehicle. You will be at risk if you are driving too quickly on roads that are slippery and you need to stop. When you see or hear an emergency vehicle coming, you should A. Stop immediately and let the vehicle pass. B. Drive as far toward the right side of the road as is safe and stop. C. Proceed slowly and permit the vehicle to pass. D. Keep moving slowly, staying to the right side of the road. B. Drive as far toward the right side of the road as is safe and stop. When driving on a two-lane roadway or undivided highway, you must yield to an emergency vehicle using its lights and/or siren, regardless of the direction from which it is approaching. Immediately drive as near as possible to the right side of the road and stop, taking care not to stop within an intersection. Traffic signals sometimes display arrows to control turns from specific lanes. A solid yellow arrow A is never used as a traffic signal. B has the same meaning as a circular yellow traffic light. C means that drivers may turn in the direction indicated by the arrow. D tells drivers that a green arrow is about to be shown. This sign means A. School ahead. B. School crossing. C. Pedestrian crossing. D. Construction workers on or near the roadway. C. Pedestrian crossing. Warning signs are usually diamond-shaped with black markings on a yellow background. They alert drivers to upcoming hazards. This sign indicates that there may be pedestrians crossing the road ahead.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
This sign is a A. Service sign. B. Regulatory sign. C. Warning sign. D. Stop sign. C. Warning sign. Warning signs are usually diamond-shaped and yellow with black lettering or symbols. They warn drivers about special situations or potential hazards ahead. You are driving on a highway divided by two solid yellow lines. You may A. Cross these lines only to make a left turn into or from an alley, private road, or driveway. B. Cross these lines to pass other vehicles, but only if there is no oncoming traffic. C. Cross these lines under no circumstances. D. Cross these lines only to make a U-turn. A. Cross these lines only to make a left turn into or from an alley, private road, or driveway. Double solid yellow lines are used to mark roadways where passing is prohibited from both directions. You may cross these lines only to make a left turn into or from an alley, private road, or driveway. Before switching on the ignition, you should A. Be sure only backseat passengers have buckled their seat belts. B. Be sure only adult passengers have buckled their seat belts. C. Be sure only child passengers have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. Develop a routine for entering and leaving your car. Before switching on the ignition, Buckle your safety belt and see that all passengers do likewise. If you are turning onto a street with more than one lane traveling in your direction, you should A. Turn into the lane closest to your previous lane. B. Turn into the lane marked with an arrow. C. Turn into the middle lane. D. Turn into any lane. A. Turn into the lane closest to your previous lane. When turning onto a street with more than one lane moving in the direction that you are traveling, turn into the lane that is closest to your previous lane. Do not change lanes when turning. Which of the following influences the effects of alcohol? A. The amount of food in the stomach. B. The body weight of an individual. C. How much time passes between drinks. D. All three choices. D. All three choices. Your blood alcohol content (BAC) depends on how much alcohol you drink, how much time passes between drinks, and your weight. Eating before or while you drink helps slow the absorption of alcohol somewhat, but it cannot prevent intoxication or impairment if you have too much to drink. A steady yellow traffic signal means that a fill in the blank light will soon appear. A. Flashing yellow. B. Steady green. C. Steady red. D. Flashing red. C. Steady red. A steady yellow light on a traffic signal indicates that a steady red light will soon appear. When driving under icy or snowy conditions, which driving technique will help drivers avoid crashes? A. Add extra weight to their vehicles to improve traction. B. Get off the highways as quickly as possible. C. Engage the four-wheel drive on their vehicles. D. Reduce their speed and increase their following distance. D. Reduce their speed and increase their following distance. Reduce your speed when roads are snow-covered or icy. Doing this and increasing your following distance are the most important techniques for avoiding crashes under snowy or icy conditions. Which is a characteristic of a defensive driver? A. Anger. B. Passivity. C. Exhaustion. D. Alertness. D. Alertness. A defensive driver tries to predict possible danger and is prepared to act accordingly. Good defensive drivers are alert to what is going on around them. You are entering a crowded freeway. What should you do to merge into traffic? A. Use your side and rear view mirrors and check your blind spots. B. Use the acceleration lane to adjust your speed to match the speed of freeway traffic. C. Yield to traffic already on the freeway. D. All of the above. This road sign means A. One-way road. B. No right turn. C. Exit. D. Sharp right turn in the road ahead. D. Sharp right turn in the road ahead. This sign indicates that there is a sharp right turn ahead. Which of the following are used on some highways to direct drivers into the proper lanes for turning? A. Flashing red lights. B. Flashing yellow lights. C. White lines on the side of the road. D. White arrows in the middle of the lanes. D. White arrows in the middle of the lanes. Arrows may be used to indicate which lanes should be used for specific purposes, such as driving straight or making a turn. Driving while being distracted by any activity. A. Is never dangerous. B. Usually causes the driver to react more slowly to hazards. C. Usually causes the driver to drive faster. D. Is only dangerous for young drivers. B. Usually causes the driver to react more slowly to hazards. Distractions cause drivers to react more slowly to traffic and hazards on the roadway. Distracted driving is never safe. This road sign means A. The left lane is reserved for vehicles with a specific number of occupants. B. Specific turning movements are allowed from specific lanes. C. Do not enter. D. Drivers in both lanes are responsible for merging smoothly. A. The left lane is reserved for vehicles with a specific number of occupants. This sign marks a high occupancy vehicle (HOV) lane. HOV lanes are reserved for use by buses and vehicles with a driver and one or more passengers, as indicated on the sign. When passing another vehicle on a road with two lanes traveling in opposite directions, you should A. Return to the driving lane when there's enough room between you and the vehicle you passed. B. Remain in the left lane if you intend to turn left. C. Return to the right side of the roadway immediately. D. Drive in either lane. A. Return to the driving lane when there's enough room between you and the vehicle you passed. When passing another vehicle on a two-lane roadway, you must return to the right side of the roadway when there is enough room between you and the vehicle you have passed. Which statement about speed is true? A. Driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous. B. Speeding can kill. C. Speeding is not dangerous if you are a skilled driver. D. Both driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous and speeding can kill. D. Both driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous and speeding can kill. As speed increases, the chance of a fatality increases. If you are moving faster than 80 miles per hour, you have almost no chance of living through a crash. Driving more slowly than other traffic can also be dangerous because other motorists may become impatient and make dangerous moves to pass you. Snow and ice on your vehicle should be removed from A. Just the windshield. B. All windows, the hood, and the roof of your vehicle. C. Just the windshield and passenger window. D. Just the hood and windshield. B. All windows, the hood, and the roof of your vehicle. It is important that you are able to clearly see your mirrors, through your windows, and through your windshield when driving. Remove all snow, ice, or frost from all windows before you start to drive. Roads freeze quickly when they are A. Flat. B. Curvy. C. In the sun. D. Shaded. D. Shaded. In cold or wet weather, you should take special care on sections of road that are shaded by trees or buildings. These areas freeze more quickly than the rest of the road and are the last parts of the road to dry. You may drive across a dashed white line. A. At any time. B. Only during daylight hours. C. When it is safe to change lanes. D. Only when passing a motorcycle. C. When it is safe to change lanes. Traffic lanes moving in the same direction are separated by broken white lines. You may cross over dashed lines to pass, if it is safe to do so. The driver's left arm and hand are extended downward. This hand signal means that the driver plans to A. Turn left. B. Turn right. C. Stop. D. Start up. C. Stop. If a driver's left arm and hand are extended downward, they are indicating that they intend to stop. Adjust your driving accordingly if following a driver who is using this hand signal. A "no stopping" sign means that, unless directed to do so by a police officer, you may stop only A. long enough to unload packages. B. to avoid conflict with other traffic. C. to discharge passengers. D. for less than 5 minutes. B. to avoid conflict with other traffic. A "no stopping" sign means you can only stop to obey a traffic signal, to obey a police officer, or to prevent a conflict with another vehicle. While driving, you come upon a sign displaying the words "reduced speed, 35 miles per hour." This means A. that the new 35 miles per hour speed limit begins at this sign. B. that the new 35 miles per hour speed limit begins at the next speed limit sign. C. that you have plenty of time to slow down before the reduced speed zone. D. that you should reduce your speed to 35 miles per hour, but only under poor weather conditions. A. that the new 35 miles per hour speed limit begins at this sign. Reduced speed signs inform drivers that they must reduce their speeds. If a new speed limit is posted on one of these signs, the new speed limit begins at the sign. What is the meaning of the I in the SIPDE acronym? A. Identify hazards. B. Ignition. C. Ignore problems. D. Insist on right-of-way. A. Identify hazards. The I in the SIPDE acronym stands for Identify Hazards and Identify What's Happening. This means you should take notice of road signs and features as well as things that could cause trouble. To avoid last-minute braking or the need to turn suddenly, you should consistently look down the road. A. 1 to 3 seconds. B. 5 to 7 seconds. C. 10 to 15 seconds. D. 20 seconds. C. 10 to 15 seconds. To avoid last-minute braking or the need to turn suddenly, you should consistently look at least 10 to 15 seconds ahead of your vehicle. Avoiding last-minute decisions will give drivers behind you more time to react to your movements. A pedestrian starts to cross in front of your vehicle. You should A. flash your lights. B. slow down. C. speed up and pass in front of the pedestrian. D. stop and let the pedestrian cross. D. stop and let the pedestrian cross. Slow down and be prepared to stop whenever you see pedestrians walking on or crossing the roadway. Be particularly careful where children are present. Always yield the right-of-way to a pedestrian crossing in a crosswalk. To avoid becoming a dangerous and aggressive driver, you should A. speed only when there are no police officers nearby. B. make eye contact with surrounding aggressive drivers. C. tailgate to inform other drivers that you need to get somewhere. D. allow plenty of time for trips. D. allow plenty of time for trips. Drivers who do not follow the rules of the road are a hazard to all motorists, bicyclists, and pedestrians on the roadway. To maintain control of your driving, you should plan for plenty of time to complete a trip. If you begin your drive early, you won't feel the need to break traffic rules to get to where you are going on time. A yellow light that flashes on and off means A. Stop and look for other vehicles, then go if there is no traffic. B. Stop and wait for a green light. C. Speed up to clear the intersection quickly. D. Slow down and proceed with caution. D. Slow down and proceed with caution. A flashing yellow traffic light means drivers should slow down and proceed with caution. When getting ready to change lanes, you should A. Check your side view mirror. B. Check your rear view mirror. C. Quickly turn your head to check for other vehicles. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Before changing lanes, check your side and rearview mirrors for traffic approaching you from behind. Just before you begin moving into the other lane, quickly glance over your shoulder and check for any vehicles that may be in your blind spot. This sign means A. Bicycle crossing. B. Stop. C. Fines double in a work zone. D. Stop ahead. A. Bicycle crossing. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign alerts drivers to potential bicycle cross traffic. You come to an intersection displaying a flashing red light. You should A. Come to a full stop and go when it is safe to do so. B. Stop only if other cars are also approaching the intersection. C. Stop only if other cars are already within the intersection. D. Slow down and be prepared to stop, if necessary. A. Come to a full stop and go when it is safe to do so. A flashing red traffic light has the same meaning as a stop sign. You must stop, yield the right of way, and go once it is safe. This road sign means A. Turn right after making a complete stop. B. Right turns are not permitted. C. Left turns are permitted. D. None of the above. B. Right turns are not permitted. Regulatory signs display laws that drivers must always obey. Right turns are not permitted where this sign is present. At a school crossing sign, you should A. Always stop, whether there's a stop sign or not. B. Watch for children and be ready to stop. C. Always sound your horn when you see children. D. Be ready to help children crossing the street. B. Watch for children and be ready to stop. You must always yield to pedestrians who are in or about to enter a crosswalk. Be alert to pedestrians when driving across intersections or turning. Traffic signs and pavement markings. A. Must always be obeyed. B. Are merely suggestions. C. Must be followed only when there is other traffic. D. Must be followed only when a police officer is present. A. Must always be obeyed. Traffic flow is controlled by pavement markings, traffic islands, signals, and signs. These devices inform drivers of conditions on the roadway and help guide drivers safely to their destinations. You must always obey traffic signs, signals, and pavement markings. This road sign means A. Your current roadway ends ahead. B. You must bear either right or left. C. A four-way intersection is ahead. D. A road joins from the right. B. You must bear either right or left. This sign indicates that there is a Y intersection ahead. You must bear either to the right or to the left. If there are two railroad tracks next to each other. A. It is always safe to proceed after one train passes. B. You must always stop before crossing the tracks. C. When one train passes, look for another train on the other track before proceeding. D. Honk your horn as you cross the tracks. C. When one train passes, look for another train on the other track before proceeding. If there are two railroad tracks next to each other, watch for a second approaching train after one train passes. Do not begin to cross the tracks until you're sure no train is approaching from either direction on either track. This sign means A. No U-turn. B. No left turn. C. No right turn. D. No turning. C. No right turn. This sign indicates that right turns are prohibited. Do not make a right turn at an intersection where this sign is posted. What should you do when you are going to enter a roadway from a private road? A. Blow your horn to warn cars you are entering the roadway. B. Stop with part of your car on the roadway to alert other drivers. C. Drive out fast to merge smoothly with the traffic. D. Yield the right of way to pedestrians and roadway traffic. D. Yield the right of way to pedestrians and roadway traffic. When entering a roadway from a driveway or private road, you must yield the right of way to pedestrians and traffic on the roadway.